Number 4.
Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill Number 2, first reading.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Minister, Chris Tremaine.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill Number 2 be now read for the first time. I nominate the Local Government and Environment Committee to consider the bill. Mr Speaker, the Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill Number 2 will amend the Local Government Auckland Council Act 2009 to provide powers for local boards to delegate responsibilities allocated to them under the Act. These powers of delegation are currently provided for through transitional regulations, which will expire on the 31st of October 2013. Providing delegation powers to local boards through transitional regulations was intended as an interim solution to allow a better understanding of the operation of local boards to be reflected in a later amendment to the Local Government Auckland Council Act 2009. Mr Speaker, the Auckland Council has indicated that the efficient and effective operation of local boards requires that they continue to have the powers to delegate that they currently have now. The bill therefore replicates the effect of the relevant provisions in the transitional regulations. Auckland Council requested the amendment and supports the detailed drafting of this bill. And I understand that no local board or local board members have sought the enactment of different delegation powers. Given the important but straightforward nature of this legislation, I am sure the Select Committee will work constructively to ensure that the Council's request is supported. Quick passage of this bill will result in minimal disruption to the ability of local boards to delegate their functions. Mr Speaker, Auckland's 21 local boards were established as part of the Auckland governance reforms. These reforms were instigated in 2009-2010 year by central government in response to the Royal Commission's report on Auckland governance. These changes were necessary because of long-standing problems with Auckland. The 8 councils lacked a collective sense of purpose and did not have the constitutional ability to effectively address the region's many issues. Local issues and parochial attitudes had created an insurmountable barrier to regional progress and integrated development.
You've offended Andrew.
A successful Auckland is crucial to the success of New Zealand as a whole. I wonder, I won't say go there. This is due to its size, uniqueness and economic influence. For example, Auckland is home to 1.5 million New Zealanders, 34% of the country's population, and is responsible for approximately 38% of our national gross domestic product. It is one of only a handful of cities internationally responsible for generating over a third of their country's national GDP. The creation of Auckland Council has already proved to be a success. For the financial year 2011-12, Auckland Council achieved $81 million worth of efficiency savings. This enabled them to deliver a lower than expected 3.94% average rates increase to Aucklanders.
Very successful Labour.
The rates increases projected for the same year by the former councils averaged some 6%. Auckland Council is forecasting further permanent savings, resulting in $1.7 billion projected efficiency savings over the 10-year period of the current long-term plan. The proposed rates increase for the 2013-14 year is 2.9%, which is lower than the 4.8% forecast in last year's long-term plan. The Auckland two-tier model, in which governance is shared between the Council's governing body and local boards, is unique within New Zealand's local government. The governing body and the local boards are non-hierarchical and share complementary decision-making responsibilities. The governing body has a region-wide strategic focus, while local boards make decisions on local matters. The local boards model has understandably taken some time to bed in and be understood, not least by those involved in it, but it is now starting to deliver. The relationship, Mr Speaker, between local boards and the governing body is maturing in recognition of the fact that there are few, if any, regional decisions that do not have a local dimension and few local issues that do not have regional implications. This is a successful model, and this government is actively considering making it available in a modified form in other parts of New Zealand with smaller population bases. Auckland's 21 local boards have a significant and wide-ranging role that spans most local government services and activities, including firstly making decisions about non-regulatory local matters, including negotiating service delivery standards, and secondly developing, monitoring and implementing local board plans every 3 years and negotiating local board agreements with the governing body. Thirdly, providing local leadership and developing relationships with the governing body, the community and special interest groups. Mr Speaker, this bill will enable the continued delegation of some of these responsibilities to a committee of local board or an officer of the Auckland Council. It actually might help the member across the road to open his ears to listen to this wonderful speech, because he might learn a thing or two which he was unable to learn in his period as mayor in one of the former parts of Auckland. However, Mr Speaker, that is an aside. The bill would not enable the delegation of certain functions, such as the duty to identify and communicate the interests of people in the local board's area in relation to strategies, policies, plans and bylaws of the Auckland Council. Nor will any local board be able to delegate the ability to propose, amend, confirm, modify or revoke a bylaw, adopt a local board plan, agree the local board agreement for its area, or apply to the local government commission for a determination in respect of a dispute with the governing body of the Auckland Council. These are critical core functions for a local board, and it is appropriate that local boards retain direct responsibility for these powers. Mr Speaker, in conclusion, it is worth noting that only 2 of the 21 Auckland local boards have populations fewer than 45,000 people. This figure is around the average number of people who live in each city or district outside of Auckland. Elected bodies serving populations of this size need flexibility in how they structure their decision-making. They need to be able to create committees and subcommittees and to delegate appropriate responsibilities to them. In order to ensure this ability to delegate continues, it is essential that we pass this bill. This will enable the continued, effective and efficient operation of local boards in Auckland after the transitional regulations expire. Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the honourable member Sir William Seo. Talofa lava.
Talofa lava, Mr Speaker. Thank you for
mai oi.
Manuia whawhtai.
Whawhatai lava.
That's enough now. My apologies, Mr Speaker. Let me... your Samoan is wonderful, as always. It's just that we've moved from Samoan Language Week into the Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill. But I do want to thank you for the reminder. Let me just say to all of the House, thank you very much for your support of Samoan Language Week last week. I note that the Speaker, because he represents an electorate with huge proportions of Samoan population, he can't help himself but continue to speak Samoan on a regular basis. So, I rise on behalf of Labour to speak at the first reading of the Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill number 2003. As the Minister has outlined eloquently, the bill is to amend the Local Government Auckland Council Act 2009 to enable local boards established under the Act to delegate responsibilities, duties or powers conferred or allocated to them under the Act. Currently, local boards are able to delegate many of their responsibilities, duties or powers to a committee or a member of the local board or to an officer of the local council under the local government regulations. And as the Minister